All right, hey everybody, welcome back to another MSP Live Chat brought to you by Ninja RMM. I am Jonathan Crow. I'm Director of Content and Community here at Ninja RMM. I got Tom Watson with me here once again. Hey, Tom.
Hi, everyone.
And very excited to have Matthew Fox from Valiant Technology here. What's up, Matt?
Hey everyone, how you doing? How you guys doing today?
We're doing great, and I'm really excited to see everybody jumping in the chat already. The familiar faces. We got Kelvin, obviously the MVPs here. I saw Ray, Gabrielle, Sean. This is awesome. Good to see you guys. Really excited to have you here for this session because this is one of my favorite topics, and I think it deserves a lot of discussion here. This is maybe not a controversial one, but one that I know that Tom, myself, and Matt too have all had conversations with other MSPs about. They get kind of into a little bit of arguments here. MSP branding. We're talking about websites, actually putting effort into what your website, what your branding looks like. Doesn't matter. Who even cares? Like, that's a discussion that we need to have probably right off the bat. But before we jump in, a couple of housekeeping things. So we're recording this session for those who are new to these MSP live chats. You could probably tell already, we do things a little bit more informally. This is all about being interactive. So definitely use the chat, jump in there. If you've got your own contributions you want to share, we may call some of you guys onto the screen to join us up here live. And as we mentioned in our emails, we're going to be doing some live website reviews. So we did get a couple of requests. We're going to get to those in a little bit. Thank you for those who are brave enough to submit your websites for us to review live on the air. And for those in the chat, if you're feeling brave too, please do so. We've also got some websites that we're going to be sharing that show you some good things to do, some not so great things to maybe do. And that's really the genesis of why we're here talking with Matt today. Because back in the year of our Lord, 2019, I wrote a post for Ninja's blog. I'm going to pull this up now, put it in the chat link. I wanted to check out, okay, what do actual good MSP websites look like? And this is something that's a question that comes up. People are constantly thinking like, I'm thinking about updating my site. What's a good example to show? And I had a hard time finding specific posts that were like, these are actually MSP websites. A lot of times when people show good examples, they point to other companies outside of the MSP space. And that's because a lot of MSP websites are maybe afterthoughts or maybe not so great. But I went through I think I used the channel E2E or maybe the CRN list, the top companies.
I want to say that we talked about this. You use the MSP 500.
Yes, and so I went through that, and my God. But like I went through that, and I found a lot of good websites, and one of the ones was Valiant Technology, which maybe we should just go ahead and pull that up. I stalked your site, Matt, for a while, and little did I know, you actually have the capability to know that I was visiting, and you're like, this guy, Jonathan's been on my site like 100 times.
That was an actual conversation that happened between the president of Valiant and I the day before either you reached out to me or I reached out to you. I don't remember how it happened, but it was a weird timing thing. We were in a meeting and I'm like, this guy, Jonathan, keeps coming to the site. Like, I get the notification at least once a week. He wants to see what we're doing, what's going on. So I'm just going to like shoot him an email, be like, hey, check this out. You're going to like this. And I think that's how we ended up having these conversations to begin with.
Yeah, I think you may have somebody because I think I'm a marketer. I did this, like I had this list of our 10 websites, and I let everybody know who was on the site. Like, hey, look at this, you're on this, and I was hoping people would share. I think you may have snubbed me that first time, which is totally fine.
No, you know what it was? I don't think I posted anything via like Valiant social media, but on my own personal, I had the Lego minifigure animated. That was a big deal, man. I really appreciated that. That wasn't just. That was an interesting thing to have happen because look, I work at Valiant now, but 10 years ago almost, I was a client. And one of the first conversations I had with the owner was how much I wanted to rebuild their website. Like, it would be fun to do something with a bunch of technical people. I worked in publishing and nonprofit educational type stuff before that. So it was so different to talk with people that spoke my language. And to have the opportunity to build the site in my own kind of vision based on what I thought the company was really cool. And to get that email from you about that was just kind of confirmation, like, all right, this is working. We're doing something good here. So that was a big deal. That was a really big deal.
Well, that's cool of you to say. And before we go too much further, maybe we can talk. You can talk a little bit more about that background story, because to put things into context here, we're going to be talking about branding. We're going to be talking about design. We're going to be looking at websites. But just so everyone's clear,
I am not a marketer.
Yes. Let's get that out of the way.
I have an MCSE card in my wallet right now. This is I think the effect of working in different environments for 20 years and always being exposed to marketing and salespeople, living in a household where I grew up around two artists. My father was a sculptor. My mother was a fashion designer for like Ralph Lauren and Searle and all these big companies. So growing up, aesthetics for everything, and looking for the details and understanding how to make things simpler and attractive at the same time. So that's where a lot of this comes from. But yeah, traditionally, I've been an IT director. That was the first 15 years of my career. And then, I went from being a longtime hobbyist developer to doing that a little bit more seriously. That's how I actually came into Valiant in 2015, before any of the marketing started. And the marketing, as I'm sure everyone's going to learn over the next hour, I've got a big mouth. And they were just, put your money where your mouth is kind of a situation. And I did. And that's why we're here today. It's worked out pretty well, but it's a process. It's a journey. It's an area where you're going to have missteps and you're going to learn from your mistakes and get better. And that's what this is. And if this conversation helps everyone else do the same, that's awesome.
But
plus, the feedback I'm getting on my mustache in the chat. Let's just get there for a second, okay?
Yeah. No, I don't worry. I was going to bring it up. So Kevin points out everyone likes it. So yes, on top of that big mouth of yours, a luxurious, glorious mustache. Let's all take a moment to acknowledge, to get that out the way. I mentioned this in our prep call. I didn't want to wear my flannel shirt because I didn't want to have two flannel shirt hipster guys talking to MSPs about branding. But so tell me this: when you joined Valiant, your title is creative director.
Yes.
But you didn't join as a creative director. That's something that happened, right?
Yeah, no, that kind of just happened over the course of 2.5 years or so. When I started, I was the senior developer for Valiant Cloud, which was a separate arm of Valiant Technology that specialized in cloud-based disaster recovery and backup services. So I was originally hired to build out a front end for a system to manage, virtual machines, backup statuses, ticketing. We were integrating a lot of our stuff with Autotask and doing a lot of great work. And whenever there was free time to do something design related, that's what you'd see me doing. Like I rebranded Valiant Cloud after being there for a few months. And I don't even think it was a conversation. It was just sort of like going up to the guys and be like, this logo sucks. And just having some ideas and developing that into what Valiant Cloud became before we decided not to continue with it anymore. But that opened the door for more and more design work. And then I kind of got this weird internal title of tastemaker. And I mean, honestly, I thought that was just like the guy that brought the donuts every day for a while. But that led to a lot more conversations around marketing and how the company presents itself. And that led to them just saying, look, if this is something that you want to give a shot, let's see what happens. Let's go do it. And that was it. And that was the day I went from being a plumber that stepped on mushrooms and squashed turtles to doing marketing. That was for Ronnie in the Super Mario Brothers comment.
Yeah, there you go. What a magical day that was. Well, hey everybody. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about today, I wanted to also share in the chat a link to our agenda doc. And we are going to fly so far off of this agenda like we always do, but there's a couple of things I wanted to call out on it. And let me just make this a focus for a second. So we've got this agenda doc. It's going to have loads of links to things. I'm going to make sure to add to this doc right after this session because I'm already thinking of a ton of additional resources I want to share that I didn't put on here. But we've got links to learn more from Matt. We've also got a link right here. So for those of you who didn't know, from the last chat, we started a Slack group. And so an MSP Live Chat Slack group, there's a link to join right there. Jump in while you're on here right now. We'd love to have you in there. It's a place where we can keep the conversation going even after this discussion's over. So here are some points that we're going to be talking about. We're going to have our links to our website reviews. And then we're going to dive into, Matt's going to walk us through more about what he's doing at Valiant, but we're also going to look at websites and try to bring this back down to reality a little bit for a lot of people, because let's be honest, a lot of people, maybe they want to do some work on their website, but maybe they're not going to completely just rehash the whole thing. You don't have to. We've got some suggestions that are based around what are some iterative, smaller improvements you can make. And Tom, I just want to get your take on this a little bit. You had your MSP. Obviously, you exited it. But when we were talking about this, you mentioned from pretty early on, branding was something that in the back of your mind, at least, and it went beyond just websites too, right? I mean, you were thinking about branding in terms of just overall, what was your perception that you wanted to put out there?
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday, and one of the things I wanted to get across that we were organized. We looked the part. We could be counted on. I wanted my technicians all wearing the same thing. I operate in the Washington D.C. area, and I think that Matt kind of summed it up well. Kind of government issue, make it look kind of standardized, make people comfortable in that. So I think that can sometimes come into play if you're in certain verticals or in certain markets. Kind of taking that branding all the way down, way past the website and the logo to multiple areas of your business so you're reflecting that brand throughout the company.
Yeah, just looking at the polls here, and for everybody, if you look down at the bottom of the screen, you'll see you can ask a question. You can also see a couple polls that I've launched. We asked on a scale from 1 to 5, how well does your website currently represent your business, who you are, and who you want to be? And a lot of people, the majority we got some people who are like, yeah, that's right on. So if you're one of those people who gave it a 5, would love to hear you in the chat. Like, we don't have to go and review your website live, but I mean, if you're open for it, like share your site or maybe share some of the things that you're happy with. And then we got the vast majority of people somewhere there in the middle. But with that, Matt, why don't you take us through a little bit more about what things looked at Valiant before you stepped in, before you started doing the design work? Because I know you put some together around that.
Yeah, Valiant looked very different before I got there. It's a company that I've had a relationship with since 2009, 2010, so I've seen a lot of the stuff kind of evolve over the years. But honestly, I didn't think it was evolving quickly enough. When we were talking about the prep for this, I gave this kind of strange comparison as to the Valiant logo and the color scheme. It used to be orange and yellow. And whenever I'd look at it, there was nothing about it that said technology or innovation. It really said my grandmother's kitchen in like the 1980s. It was like the orange and brown Formica, the avocado green fridge. Like, that had that kind of like 70s kitchen feel to it. And I'm like, that's the furthest thing from any of the solutions you're providing. So we got to figure out how to clean this up. And George Dowdeman, the president, and I did a lot. We had a lot of conversation. In fact, there are a couple of people in this chat right now that were a part of these conversations. And what we did was we decided that we wanted to streamline things. Technology really helps companies streamline their operations. So why not let the branding kind of reflect that? So we eliminated the majority of the colors from our palette and really just stuck with the orange and some gray tones. And it completely transformed how everything looked with just that small change. And yeah, if you give me a second, I'm going to share a window on here, and I'm going to show everyone the progression of Valiant's website from 2003 all the way to today, which is just kind of crazy. It's 17 years. Here we go. Just bear with me for 1 second. I'm not good with the PowerPoints. All right. Is there a way for us to get the video to come up completely?
Yeah, totally. There you go.
Nope, that's yours, not mine.
Oh, that is. You're right. Here, I'm going to close off mine. Sorry, that was Sandra. Sorry, Sandra. I'm putting your site on blast there. There you go, Matt.
So yeah, that's Valiant's very first website in 2003. And it's a typical 2003 website. It's tables-based. It's not that attractive. There's no responsive design because that didn't exist yet. You can see that we actually got our start in Queens, in Astoria. So this is cool. This is like a point in time. And even cooler, can you see my first office back in the year 2000 was in this building right here by the cursor. And I just wanted to point that out because I love that place. So then, all right, 2006, boom, things get a little bit brighter. There's a little bit more going on here. But again, they're not really talking about the services or what they do. There's just this blurb of text and 3 kind of shadow people who were the partners at the time. But this doesn't really tell me much about what's going on other than you like microchips and subway maps. That's all I'm getting from this. 2008, this is the site that I first saw when I learned about Valiant as a company. And it kind of goes back to the grandmother's kitchen, brown, orange, and yellow kind of motif.
I think I mentioned Primus, the Brown album.
Yes,
yeah.
exactly. And it's like, come on, guys, what's going on here? This site literally says you're disorganized. There are Cat 5s falling all over the place. If we walk into someone's office and see that in a computer room, we go nuts. I go nuts. There is actually a ticket in Valiant system from when I was a client where one of the technicians got clotheslined by a Cat 5 I had going between a cabinet and a telco rack. So there's just some kind of weird irony about this. It's like, come on, guys, it just doesn't make sense. But, things continue to improve. 2015, this is Valiant's website. And this is the site that was up when I first stepped in the doors as an employee. And it was functional. It worked, but I didn't like it at all. The one thing you can say here is at least there is cable management in place to a point. Things are a little more organized. And then 2017 is when I kind of stepped in and things started kind of beginning to look the way Valiant does today. This is when we standardized a corporate typeface, removed the excess colors from the palette, kind of just started using real photos. I mean, those are guys in the office right there that are real people. That's not stock. We kind of did this whole death to stock, we'll never use it thing. And that photo itself became the motivation for a lot of the work that went into the site in years after. If you look in front of the guy that's in the middle, there's a little like one of those name signs and actually just says suck less, like do better. And that's always been a reminder that iterative improvement is important. You're never getting anything perfect the first time around. Don't bother trying to get anything perfect the first time around. Just make sure every action you take is a little bit better than the one before it, and you're going to be okay. And doing that led us to the site that you guys see today. And there's more. In the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be deploying a bunch of improvements. And so we can actually look at some of those because I think they go a long way in explaining how you may build something and turn around and go, that's not quite doing what I want it to do. Let's revise it. And in a couple of weeks, we're going to see this version of the site with some improvements on it. But it is kind of crazy to see the progression from 2003 and just go through this. And you can see like the yellow and orange and brown. And there's nothing about these that really say technology other than the mess of cables on this page. A little bit better. Starting to see more people. Yeah, there's not a direct call out or anything here right away. But as time goes on, we began to mature and be much better at expressing who we are through both the website and other marketing materials. So yeah.
Yeah, and bringing this up, so you can also see some things, and we're going to notice this as we look through some other sites. I'm sure everyone on the call here has looked at a fair share of MSP websites too. You start to pick up on certain patterns, and you're already hitting on things where this decision between stock photography or not to do stock, if you're going to have people or not, is it going to be an image of just like, we've all seen so many pictures of just the random like tech photo. And that's what people are using versus if you're going to go with your real people, what are some things you can do if you don't have the best high quality stuff? I back when I was reviewing a bunch of sites for that article last year, I saw a lot of people were doing videos now, the video hero images, and that's cool if you have like a videographer that can come in. Of course, a big thing now for people that I'm kind of interested in hearing your thoughts on, Matt and Tom and everybody in the chat. If you're just starting to build out your site now or you're wanting to make improvements, we have all these like, oh yeah, we want to show our office and we want to show how we're real people. We have a real office. We're professional. We have fun. What are you going to do now that everybody, a lot of people are back in offices, but for the people who aren't, like you guys, Matt, you guys are working pretty remote, right?
Yeah. I've only been in the office once since last February. So very, very remote. And that's a conversation that we're having right now. It's how do we express who we are a little bit more if we can't be together in the same location? It's sort of like the photo that's on screen right now. We've got our president, our CIO, and our training manager in one place. These are the people that you see on our live stream every Thursday. These are the faces that we were looking at just a couple of hours ago. And that's a great thing to have. But if you can't do that these days, I think that one idea that we've been playing with is, building some messaging and just having everyone that wants to be a part of it deliver it through webcam and then just stitching it into like a single message, almost a commercial, of some sort. And that's really the initial idea now, but there's a lot more that we're thinking about that. And quite frankly, I'd be more than happy to continue talking about this in Slack as time goes on. This is an ongoing process. This doesn't happen in an hour, but I'm in there and we're going to talk about these things. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, and I see people asking questions about, of course, like there's so much we can talk about here. There's high level stuff. There's a whole section of that agenda doc where bringing up, why does branding matter in the first place, and what's the big difference? I did want to make one point here, just because I'm kind of proud of myself, and this is probably just me being overly clever. But yeah, I mean, I have this this image here.
That's me when I wake up versus now.
Before the mustache, before you tape it on, actually.
Before it goes in, yeah.
Well, okay, so like, why put in effort into all this anyway? Because I don't know if Alex Farling from Lifecycle is on in this session. If he is, he can defend himself in the chat. But we were having a discussion over in a Slack group of does your MSP website even matter that much? I know for a lot of people, the way you get new business is driven by referrals, right? You've got your website kind of as like you have to have something, and so you just put bare. It's not worth putting a whole lot of time and effort into. So that certainly is one take that a lot of people have. But we were talking about you, me, and Tom earlier, going back to, again, the change with this year. Now that you don't have in-person events, you still can have referrals. People are obviously still talking to each other, and you can still generate referrals that way. But you definitely have fewer opportunities that aren't digital. And so I think it is safe to say in a lot of cases, your digital outreach and your website is going to be pulling more of the load there. And so you want to make sure, like I have this line, like, obviously, you should want your website and any kind of digital outreach you have, to say the same things that you want your best referrals to say, right? Like you don't want it to be a completely different discussion. No,
it shouldn't be a completely different discussion. In fact, as you're saying this, I'm getting these thoughts in my head, and also in my head. And once we're done here, I want to answer some of the questions in the chat. Mm-hmm. Your homepage should be the aggregator for all the things that you're doing online. That becomes the place that people are going to find out everything that you're doing. If you're delivering video on YouTube, you sure as hell better have that on your website so people know how to get to it, because no one's going to go, I wonder what company X is doing on this video sharing platform right now. They're going to want to know about solutions to problems they're having, and you need to get as much information in front of them at one time as possible. And where are you going to do that? You do it on your website.
Yeah, and just the validation factor. I mean, Tom, you can chime in on this. I see a comment from Joe too, saying most of the business comes from referrals, but they always check the website before calling him. Mm-hmm. People just want to know, like, you're a legit business, and they want to get a sense of who you are, right?
Honestly, we have got leads that have come in over the past couple of years that are, we were looking for a solution and we saw your website and we just want to talk to you because of that. It's the blog content, the resources that we put up for people to be able to use, and that sparks a lot of curiosity in prospective customers of ours. It goes beyond we're looking for tech support to what else do you do? I want to understand more about how you guys deal with strategy and small business. You're starting conversations with your prospects by having that information up there that you're not going to be able to if it's not accessible.
I think you pointed. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I wanted to point out here, the way I look at it, I like to look at things, and when I retooled my MSP and trying to look at it, was I going to sell it later on? Was I going to hold on to it, but I need to run it as if I was going to sell it? And I'll tell you what, people that buy MSPs want to see some level of marketing that is outside of referral-based. Referral-based is going to be hit and miss. 1 month, you might have 2 or 3, 4 or more. The next month, you might have 0 or you might have 1. Whereas a concrete marketing program is probably going to deliver you, once you get established, a certain number of leads or thereabouts every month to work from. And your referrals run a certain point. At some point, you need to depend on other tools. And one of the things is the website. I want to get referrals from not only people that know me and can send me that business and that closes and they might check my website, but I also want business to be generated off of leads, off of articles, blog posts, SEO, and that leads to the website, and more importantly, that overall brand and consistency that I portray across it. And that's what leads to be able to sell a business someday.
And let's just throw out the fact that with a website, you're able to do that 24/7. Websites don't get sick. Websites don't take a couple of weeks off a year. Websites don't have emergencies that they need to leave. The workplace for. They're up and running all the time as long as your infrastructure is good. And if you're an MSP, I'd hope so. Simple as that. Let's see. If you guys are cool with it, I'd like to answer some of the questions in chat. There's a lot of questions going around about the site.
Yeah, definitely.
It is WordPress. There's a question about, or at least I see a question about a plugin here on knowledge bases. We don't use a plugin for the knowledge base. All we do is create a custom content type within WordPress and give it a custom template to render to, and that's it. No plugins unless necessary. Plugins are potential security vulnerabilities. It's adding to an attack surface. So if you can accomplish a functionality inside of WordPress with a few lines of code, if you're able to do that, then you do that. The hell with plugins. What else do we have here? How important is a blog? I think a blog's important if you have an inbound marketing strategy. You have to be able to express the level of expertise that you're putting out there in your sales cycle, and the blog is a great way to do that. Blogs and knowledge bases are a pretty big deal as far as I'm concerned, especially for an MSP. And some of the numbers that we've been seeing, especially since the beginning of 2020, has been kind of crazy. I mean, I want to have this conversation. Hopefully some folks, please, let's have this conversation in Slack later. But I want to know more about people's search activity, because, back in publishing, if we had, 1 million, 1.5 million search impressions a month for like one of the sites that I was working on, we would be over the moon. I mean, that was a big deal. And now with Valiant, and this is mostly blog and knowledge-based content, we're getting something around 650,000 search impressions per month in Google. And that just feels like a really high number to me. And I'd love to compare it to some other people. Just crazy stuff.
Yeah, I mean, so with the blog, I do have some thoughts on that too. And basically my suggestion would be like, what do you have the capability to do? Because the last thing you want to do is try to commit to having a blog because you feel like you have to have it. Maybe you just try to outsource the articles. They're not good at all. They're done in a very haphazard way. And then even worse, like you go to a company's blog section and you're like, oh, the last one was like 2018. Yeah,
there's nothing worse than that. It's don't start something if you're going to abandon it. And I think that's something that happens a lot with technology. We're excited about the tools we get to work with and the things that we get to make happen, but we don't always plan ahead. And it's important to do something as simple as putting together an editorial calendar before you dedicate yourself to building a blog. Make sure that you're going to have topics that you want to talk about. Make sure they're going to be topics that can connect to the solutions that you're providing your customers. And make sure that you've got the bandwidth to be able to put something out with a regular cadence.
And so, yeah, man, so much. I love this discussion because it goes in so many different areas, and I could talk about blogging all day too. We do have a comment from the folks at Your Sales Energy. Thanks for being here, guys. And it's about branding guidelines. And I've seen someone else Kelvin mentioned they've got a branding guideline doc, and Ray does too. Let's show some folks. We have this link in the Google Doc. But Matt, would you be okay with going through just really quickly your guys' brand guideline doc just to show people what it looks like?
Yeah, of course.
Cool. Okay. Again, like all about trying to make things tangible, right? Like we talk about this kind of stuff a lot, but I think it helps a lot just to see what things actually look like. So I guess I'm driving this, so just tell me where you want to stop.
We can stop there. That's one of the questions in your document, why branding matters. And that's really how I sum it up. And one thing I always like to make very clear is that, the Valiant brand belongs to all of us. Yes, George is a partner. Gene McMurray is our other partner. They own the company, but we represent the brand and we need to care about it as much as they do. And I like to think that a lot of the staff feel the same way. And sometimes just making it very, very blunt in a document like this kind of makes that difference. It gives them the, okay, this is, you're part of this. You're not just someone working 9 to 5 that's getting a paycheck for it. You are part of this organism and you're going to help us grow it. And messaging in there.
Do folks get this do employees get this as part of onboarding?
Not as part of onboarding, because quite frankly, I need to get more involved in the onboarding process for our internal, for our staff. But we do have a centralized SharePoint where we keep all of our common materials, everything that's kind of shared between the pretend room and the company. And this is there front and center, along with our color palettes and our typefaces and all those kind of goodies. Yeah,
so just at a high level here, I mean, we've got positioning. You go over a few of these core elements that we talk about in the Google Doc, and this is something we're going to share. There's tons of stuff if you do some Googling. We're going to include some links too, but basically activities that will help you ask the right questions to go through. Like, let's define some of this stuff. And the cool thing about having it in a document and not just in someone's head is it makes you really forces yourself to articulate it. And this is a key part to having it actually on your website and finding the right ways to have this stuff flow through. You got your mission, you got your values, your personalities. I mean, these are the things where it's like kind of like, I think a big challenge is, okay, help connect for people on the call here. How do you get from some of these like high level, like, oh, we're talking about our personality, to like, how do you draw the through line into what's actually appearing, how this is actually working its way into like your value props and stuff like that?
So like cutting through all the esoteric kind of nonsense. It's so this is who we are as people. I mean, like, you know, everyone in the company is naturally curious about technology, wants to find problems and make them better. And what are some of the qualities that contribute to that type of person? And, you know, those are the words that we have there. That's why it's there. It's just a reminder of who we are more than anything else. It's not a mandate of how people should be, you know, handling themselves or how they conduct themselves with clients. It's just a reminder of why we're here. And that typically is enough. In fact, if you give someone more than that, it feels too rigid and you're going to rebel. I mean, I would.
Yeah. But you do have, going back to that point from your sales energy, there's branding, and then there's design, and there's all sorts of ways we can slice and dice these definitions and things. But this document's handy because it captures those high level things. And then also from a very practical point of view, a big thing that's missing from so many sites is just consistency. Like, what a wonder that does is when you actually pick a font that you're going to go with, you actually pick colors, and then you stick with them. That alone, like, I mean, we're talking about making small iterative improvements. Just having that can do wonders to make you look professional.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And if we go back to kind of like the PowerPoint that I threw together, you see that between 2015 and 2017, when you standardize on your typeface and you get the right colors in, you become recognizable. And that's what branding's about. I mean, there's some questions or comments here about branding versus design. Absolutely. Branding is about recognition. Design is about communication. Done. And icons are pretty.
I'm going to pull that clip right there. You guys will see that up next week. That was great.
So I think in the spirit of making this real again, we're about halfway through. Let's dive into some of the examples.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
And because, what better way to talk about all this stuff than rooting it with actual real examples? And let's start off with some of the brave folks that volunteered here. We've got Cross Computers, and I saw you're going to have to forgive me. I can't remember whose name this was, the owner that you sent me. I'll look through my email. I apologize. But so we're looking at this site, and you've already got some shout outs for knowledge base. I think Ray may have been asking about the Valiant knowledge base, or he may have been referring to this. And that was you and me, Matt, when we were looking at this, that jumped out right away. It's like, good for you for having that up there.
I'm sorry, the UPS guy and FedEx guy were just having an argument in my front stoop.
Oh man, that's like throwdown.
2 day,
sure for.
Anyway,
thank you, Rob. Thanks, Rob. We got more people volunteering as tribute. This is great. But yeah, thank you, Rob, for sharing this. So Cross Computers, let's check it out. But like, some first reactions.
I think it's a very straightforward site. I would have to say it's most likely WordPress. There are minor design issues that I see that I'd like to, I think I'd like to maybe, if it were my site, I would change. The nav menu has no padding, and that feels claustrophobic to me. It's a minor thing, but it really does it's the first thing that jumps out at me.
When you say padding, what do you mean there?
Do you mind if I can I show this on my screen? So instead,
of course,
I can pick it apart a little bit.
Yeah, go for it.
Give me 1 second to just kind of orient myself here.
And while you're doing that, maybe, at a very high level, looking at any site, I think we were talking about some of the things that we expect to see right away. And these will follow several patterns, and we'll show some more examples that show exactly what we're talking about. But right from the get-go, good sites are typically, they have a good tagline that explains exactly who this company is. They're IT service providers. A lot of them will say who they're serving or where they're located, or if they have a niche focus, they'll mention that. And then they'll quickly get into, okay, what is it that you offer, services, and then some form of social proof, testimonials, reviews, CSAT scores, because basically you're getting at like who you are, in a sense, why you're doing it, why you're the expert, why people should care. And then what to do next, right? So CTAs, contact us today, all that stuff. Those are the main core things. And obviously you can do those in so many different ways. But Matt, I see you pulled up the screen, so I'll let you try from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I pulled the screen. Padding refers to the space between an object in a page and everything else around it. I tried just adding a little bit of padding in here, but the way that the navigation's been built, and this is becoming too technical and not helpful, so I'm just going to stop after this one, doesn't allow for padding to be added in, at least easily from what I can see, but that's just a minor thing. I think it's great that there's a CTA within the first fold of the screen.
Yep.
The CTA isn't giving me anything. It's contact cross computers now. It's just too generic for me. I'd like to see something about maybe having a conversation, learn how cross computers can improve operations, something along those lines. It's just too generic. It doesn't make me want to click on it. And there's a lot of text here. You've got your infrastructure design support, but then you've also got a background graphic that's kind of got like this cloud of different like terms, and that's confusing my eyes a bit. And when my eyes get confused, I'm going to either look down or look someplace else. So that's just a quick aesthetic thing that's going on here. And here, I love the fact that they're using 3 columns for very different purposes, but I think that the content here is a little heavy. I need to be able to take something in within a few seconds and decide whether or not I'm going to continue. And this is a lot to read at one time. It's valuable information, but it's a lot at one time. And then the listing of solutions here. I would personally love to see this as a menu here. But give me your 4 to 6 most important solutions or services that you're offering. Giving me a bulleted list here doesn't do a whole lot for me. And I think you're missing out on opportunities because it looks like you're most likely, cross computers, partnering with a couple of different vendors of equipment. You've got Netgear, Ubiquiti, Epson, all these. Build a strapline, get their logos on there, have someone else's branding on your site, and you're going to inherit a little bit of their kind of authority. That's always an important thing. Think of it this way. Which NASCAR cars look like they really go fast?
Matt, can we go ahead and see the About Us?
Absolutely.
And also, I just want to point out one thing. I would take a look at the logo here. I would probably reassess that.
Well, there's also a chain here, and I'm trying to understand what the symbolism of that is. Yes.
It has a little like kind of a Coco Chanel thing with the CC, and I would probably move away from that, look at the logo, come up with something a little new.
Mm.
And the About Us page, I'll tell you one thing. I look at a lot of MSP sites, and I want to know who I'm actually doing business with.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And, it's important to me, especially in cases where it's a referral. I like to see someone refers me someone. I want to see their name and their face, something about them before I actually make that call.
Mm-hmm. You want to make some level of a connection. In this case, we have here what I'm assuming is a stock photo of a person on a cell phone not paying attention to me with their face away from me on an About Us page. So there's sort of like, I'm trying to communicate who I am, but I'm not going to give you the time of day because I'm staring at this video card. That's what I'm getting from it. And maybe it's because I overanalyze these things a little bit, but I would suspect that other people looking for service would have that same kind of feeling, that you're not having a conversation with me. You're not getting me to the point where I want to have a conversation with you. You're giving me a ton of information and literally looking away from me at the same time. And that's just difficult. That's tough. But that said, you change the image on this page, you're going to change the entire feel and tone of it. That's the first step of iterative improvement. You change the image on this page to make it feel welcoming. Make it a smiling face, someone who's happy, someone that's satisfied with the work that's being done by your company. Mm-hmm. And then the second step is to go in and maybe just lighten up some of this text. It's incredibly dense here. There's a guy that's actually in this chat right now, Mike Gansel, really great dude. And I hear his voice in my head right now, like, what's this do for me? What does this do for me, Matt? And my response to that would be, I don't know. There's a lot more we can do here. Let's clean this up. Let's really take this down to maybe 2 sentences, 3 sentences, explain who you are. Give me a bulleted list with a little bit of the information on the services you provide. Yes, I said no to bulleted lists on the homepage. This is different. This is content. And then you have your closing with an appeal for contact. We're here to help you improve your business, X, Y, and Z. That's it. Give us a call. Let's have a conversation. The one thing that I do love seeing on this page is the Better Business Bureau rating. I love things like that. Cool. That's a huge assurance for me. That's going to make me much more likely to reach out to someone. So much that I'm working on that for Valiant because I want to see that on the Valiant site as well. That's important to me. So that's like that's the big plus on this page. There's things that can be adjusted to make it way, way better than it is. But that AAA rating, especially seeing the A+ there, and the fact that that graphic is saying that it's from today. I mean, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
What I'm looking at, one of the things I'll look at, I'm good for on these sub pages reading probably 3 bullets, and then I'm good for seeing a couple of quick testimonials. What someone else says about you, and if I see that, that kind of affirms for me on something like an About Us page. Are they legitimate? Do I want to continue the conversation with calling them?
Absolutely. You want, like you said before, you want to see faces. You want to know who is it you're talking to, especially in an age or a period in time where you may not have a face-to-face conversation with a company that you're going to contract for these types of services. You really just might not. So yeah, all in all, I think that this site's got a strong foundation. There are tweaks that could be made to make a huge difference in what's going on here. And I got to tell you, I'm excited. I hope that maybe, in a month or two from now or whenever, we get to see Cross Computers with a couple of little changes. That's the kind of stuff that's really exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we mentioned, I saw one comment, I'll have to scroll back to see who it was, but someone saying, after looking at Valiant's website, I'm deleting the WordPress site I'm working on. And that's not what we want you to do. We want to show, we want to show you good examples, but we're going to show you some other ones too.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm putting the coffee away. You never give up on something. One thing that has been said to me many times over the years, because I've done so many different things, is you pick up something new, you're going to suck for 1.5 years at it. Just deal with it. Deal with those failures, figure out how to turn them into wins for yourself, and don't give up. And that's a lot of the things that are going on here. In fact, and I don't know if it's an appropriate time to mention it or not, but we've got our own project that we've been working on around IT marketing. And one of the things that I'm building for this is an open source WordPress theme framework that any business, MSP, anyone can use to take a lot of pain away from the development process for a site. So don't give up, just wait for a little bit. And let's have some conversations in the MSP Slack afterwards. I'm always here to help out and maybe give a little advice here and there. So let's do it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, since you're bringing Coy there, I'll be the marketer and be more self-promotional about it. Matt and I have teamed up with Kevin Clune from MSP Growth Hacks, and we're going to be starting a video series called Copy, Reboot, Delete. And
which has a style guide.
Yes, and it has a style guide, which I can include a link to too, so you guys can check it out. It looks awesome. And so we're really super excited about that. But let's keep diving into some sites here because we got more brave people. Rob, thank you so much for
I'm sorry, I keep interrupting. Why don't you take control of the screen? That way I don't go and start picking apart code.
Okay, fair enough. Well, one thing I wanted to mention, so yeah, thank you, Rob, for being brave and letting us look at your site. Here's one that wasn't volunteered, but it's one of these that was on the fast growing 150 or whatever. And it does some good things too, but it falls victim to this is just me showing you how larger MSPs that are in these large lists of they're obviously pulling in lots of ARR and all that stuff. They fall victim to some of these same, I guess, mistakes too. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it comes down to text. Look at this, our mission. Awesome that they included their mission there. Who here is going to read this? I'm a content guy. I'm a writer. I come from a writing background. I will be the first to admit that I am super lazy. Everyone's lazy. No one wants to read big blocks of text. And so that's something where I see this with testimonials a lot. That was one thing on Rob, on your site, where great that you have testimonials. There may be a lot of good quotes in there, but don't post a paragraph, pluck them out. Even post them a couple times if you've got a couple of good sound bites, but keep it very soundbitey. And we also had a good comment from Gary here. Keep mobile in mind. I mean, a lot of people are looking at this on their phones. And so even more a point to keep things very short, punchy, concise.
Absolutely. And as you were saying that, I was actually reading the mission. And I think it's great for any company to have a mission statement that really helps explain exactly what it is that they're doing. But as I read this, it sounds a lot like we're not going to let you down like everyone else does. And to me, that translates to, we're going to give you the service you deserve. And I think that's how you put that. You don't have to turn that into an entire paragraph or two. It's, we're here to support your business so that you can do your business. Now, actually, sorry, if you go up a little bit, what I did like was that they had a grid for services, right? Go down to manage services. That, you know, it can be spaced out a little bit and the CTAs on it be more effective. But I like that I'm seeing 4 major areas of service offerings as opposed to like 30 small ones. One of the things that gets said in my office a lot by our president is don't put the shrimp next to the pot roast. And what he's saying with that is, like, you know, sometimes you go into a diner and you look at a menu and there's just so much there that you're overwhelmed and you don't know what you want. You want a cheeseburger, but there's like 80 different kinds on there. No, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to McDonald's. I'd love to sit here at the diner and have a meal, but it's just overwhelming. And sometimes if you go to a website and there's, you know, 20 or 25 different offerings at one time, I'm going to go someplace else. Here, this is great. You've got your managed services, your holistic kind of, you know, support for a business. You've got your data protection, you've got your basic support, and you've got communications. I think it's great that that's in 4 separate categories. And I'm sure that if we went down this path, they would probably be broken up into subsets of what the offerings are. But to me, that's pretty strong. I like that.
Yeah. This goes to that, my point about the testimonials too. I mean, great that they're here, but man, I'm not going to read this. Like, try to get like one good clip there. I see lots of requests, Kelvin. We'll get to your site too. Don't worry, my friend. I wanted to call, I think, one other site that I'm not too afraid being a little bit more negative about. I included these guys actually on my best website list in 2019, and they're a bigger shop, and they just got so much going on here, Matt. They've got the good ingredients, but man, the cake is a mess. Like they've got the social proof here, this number that shows they're a big deal, but on top of that background, it's hard to read. Their icons are all over the place.
The color is strange. There's like this weird contrast thing going on with that orange.
The flip cards, guys. Like, maybe I sorry if I offend anybody who's using this, but man, I don't know about this flip card stuff.
It's strange, and it's in many instances it's going to limit the amount of content you can have in there, because there's this funky thing with the style, the CSS to cause an object to flip, that if you don't have a defined height and or width, it just doesn't work. So they're also limiting the kind of content they're trying to put in there. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like you have a container and you're going to constrain what you're trying to express in it. And I don't like that at all. I only say that because I drove myself nuts with a flippy kind of thing for a password reset form a few years ago, and it took a while to figure out how to get right. It's not here. Oh, they have a video. That's nice. Is it kind of like 42 seconds? That's not bad.
And this is a whole nother topic, obviously, we could get into. Like, should you do a video? I think, again, like, the answer is, well, maybe, but let's focus on the basic stuff first. I mean,
figure out what I was going to say before you create it is the big thing.
Exactly. Make sure that you actually need it. Okay, let's look at a couple others that we got a request for. This is one that came in through the Discord group. This is CloudTech24. You and I, Matt, like some things about this one, actually. Yeah. And the guy who owns it was like, oh, yeah, you can tear mine down and be brutal about it. But, I mean, this actually has got some good stuff. The one thing is...
That's also why someone would say tear it down and be brutal, because they know it's good.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, there is some kind of funky thing where you're missing on the header there. You're missing, you're not capturing everything. It's not sticky.
Yeah, their header's overloaded. I think that
menus up above too. So.
What's that, Tom?
Kind of a lot of menus up above, and you click on one. There's a lot of drop down on them.
Yeah, and that's
a little much in some of the.
That's the issue of the shrimp next to the pot roast on the menu. If you hover over business transformation and just kind of look at those, you have to wonder how many of those are actually related to business transformation. Because I would have to say that structured data cabling is not.
Yeah, I mean, the sense there, you're on one hand, you're giving people a sense that you do a lot. But
how many things can you do well? That's what a customer is going to care about.
All of them.
I'd rather know someone or work with a company that does one or two things really, really well, and then partners with folks on the outside to supplement what they cannot do for me. I don't want someone who's going to tell me they can do these 30 things and just not necessarily do the greatest job with them. And I'm not saying that that's the case with cloud tech, but when I see a menu that large, that's the concern I have. And that goes for any kind of business. years ago, I was going around shopping for a new screen printing press for myself, and I found this one company that looked amazing, and they had all this stuff, and it was overwhelming. I ended up going with a company that handmade their printing presses, and there were like 2 or 3 models, and the thing is a workhorse. I love it. And it's because they just do those 2 or 3 things really, really well, as opposed to trying to accommodate this gigantic array of stuff.
Well, so we've had a lot of conversations on here about cabling and not doing it. And it kind of reminds me what you said there is that focus on what you're good at, lean these sites down. You just want someone to take the next step to call you.
Absolutely.
Really want.
There's also, so that obviously the call you is the primary CTA for everybody. Get a free health IT check. I'm sure this ends up doing the same thing, but it's kind of nice to have, you'll notice some people will have a secondary CTA, and then maybe to download something. It's for those people who aren't ready to jump on a phone yet. Yeah, this is going to be basically accomplishing the same type of thing. Like, get your free health IT check. It's going to get you on the phone.
It's just a lead gen form, but at the same time, let's look at that page really quickly. I think there was this that I thought was interesting. So you've got this header, get your free IT health check. First of all, IT should have a period after the T, and that just drives me nuts. And then you've got your free health check, and you've got some content here, but it's actually a little bit generic in nature. It doesn't really say much about the IT health check. And then I think if you scroll further down, well past the first fold of the page, that's when you get an FAQ about this. So you're not properly expressing what the surface is at the top of the page, and then you're making up for those shortcomings by having an FAQ underneath. That doesn't communicate anything in an order that would instill confidence in you coming in and doing a health check, which I'm guessing is essentially an IT assessment that you're going to try and turn into an MSP proposal.
Right.
I mean, like, actually, why don't we look at Valiant's version of that really quickly?
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
Hold on a second. I can never remember what the URL is. I'm going to look here on my machine real quick.
And just going back to the point with branding for Cloud Tech 24. So, I do love that they're very clear, fully managed, supported IT solutions, award-winning. They're putting some good good adjectives in here. But getting a sense of who they are. I mean, again, this is kind of, they're using the stock photo. There's not really a lot of photos of any people. You don't really get a sense of personality, I guess. And some places do this better than others.
You get a sense of standards, though.
What's that?
I get a sense of standards.
Yes,
not
that's true.
Standards, and sometimes, depending on the type of company I am, maybe I care about standards more than the people that I'm going to be dealing with. So it really also depends on who their target verticals are and what kind of business they're trying to get. Yeah,
actually, before I know you want to look at the Valiant version, let's do that. But first, I want to pull up Accent. I call these guys out all the time, and they're not. I got to be honest with you, like the yellow and everything. Like from a design perspective, they don't like blow me away or anything. But what I do like about them is
their opening right there is messaging is very powerful.
Yes.
Look, not only are they saying what they're going to do, but they're saying this is the type of company we do it for.
Exactly. I love it. I mean, how crystal clear is this? Dramatically improving the IT experience for Southern California businesses with 40 to 500 employees. I mean, 40 to 500 is pretty crazy, but
you're defining your service area. You're defining exactly who your target is as far as customers go. And quite frankly, that's a great way for people to self-qualify. Like,
yes,
we've got 20 people. Maybe we shouldn't be talking to them. Let's not have that conversation.
Yeah.
And sometimes maybe you're losing out on an opportunity, but realistically, if you have yourself set up where you really don't want to have clients that are under a certain amount, then that's fine.
And then look at this. So everyone's in a hurry to point to what they do well. I like this section, and I see other people do this too. This is not totally unique, but do you struggle with IT challenges? So they're listing top pain points, and I like that they're doing that because if I'm a visitor and I come to this and one of this rings true to me, it's more reinforcement that yes, I'm coming to the right place. These guys know me and my issues. It's nice.
You're also putting ideas in their head at the same time. You may come to the site because you've got one issue, and then you start seeing these checklists, and you're like, oh my God, I've got so much more to talk to these guys about. That's just going to push that sales conversation along really nicely. And there's a lot of ways to do that. Like I wanted to try something a little bit different with Valiant site on that. So we did these kind of like chat bubbles that ask questions in the heading of the service pages, which is pretty cool.
You want to...
Yeah, go to services and then just go to any one of them, like MSP or data protection or whatever you want. boop, boop, boop. There they are.
Nice.
And you get those. You're getting these questions that are putting kind of like these thoughts in your heads, and you see that the orange areas are probably links. So if you click one of those, it pretty much takes you to the answer on that page related to the service.
Nice.
And I like that because it kind of accomplishes the idea of having that list, but it also has a little bit of a motion. When you go on that page, you see those little chat bubbles kind of pop up. They catch your eye. They help me kind of put you on rails to get to where I want you to be.
You know what? Just a call point here. You've got blocks of text here, but what makes this a little bit different from the other scenarios is you have this headline, right? Like, give people the headline that it catches my attention when I'm scrolling, and then if I care about that, then I can go into something more. So that's just a short like copy editing tip for everybody.
Absolutely, and of course the iconography makes a big difference too. That helps break up the text on a page. If those were just blocks of text, it would not be as easy to look at or consume. Oh, the health check page is thevaliantway.com/cybersecurity-checkup.
That's checkup?
Yep. There you go. You get your little value prop there. You scroll down, your lead gen form remains on screen the entire time, and you get some bullet points. You get a little bit more to look at here, and it makes a big difference. You can have. Sorry, go ahead.
What are we looking at here? This is a live stream or a webinar?
That is a webinar that was related to cybersecurity. So it's not just us. And again, you'll see a lot of the faces that you see on our website there. We've got two of the team members from Scout Cybersecurity who we partner with. And that video is just fantastic. It's great in showing that we're pretty great with communicating to people in ways that are non-technical. We go ahead and we work with people that we consider to be experts to supplement the areas that we don't necessarily specialize in. And of course, at the end of the page, look, you didn't sign up for the checkup, that's fine. Here's a bunch of other things you may be interested in to get a conversation going.
Right.
And this kind of goes back to the question about whether or not a blog is important. The question is whether or not you think that inbound marketing is important. And if you do, then you have to start creating this type of content. And you know what? It's iterative type stuff. It's shaky. I know that the first webinar that we did as a team did not go very well. I mean, it was slightly disastrous. And as time goes on, people become more comfortable and everything just kind of works smoothly. And eventually you're like, wow, this is actually happening and it's going well. And it's a nice thing. Not to mention that just seeing these things kind of go well and the idea of iterative improvement, that's a huge boost in confidence for you as well. And the more confident you are in front of your prospects, the more deals you're going to be closing.
Absolutely.
I'd like to speak to that about iterative changes. We're not telling anyone to tear their site down or anything like that. But I would say, look at something like your homepage and say, wow, are those paragraphs a little long?
Yep.
Maybe I can trim those down. That testimonial is that and I put it in here in the chat. You have a testimonial, don't just have it be accolades. That does nothing for most. Have it be specific about a problem you solved, something you did for them to help them get past some hurdle. And then look at your About Us page. Hey, it doesn't have anything up about you? Write a quick bio, put it up there, 3 sentences and a good picture. Just small changes like that, and don't try to wholesale change your site. Just try to make a few changes here and there, and eventually you'll get it there. Because I think if you try to rip it down and reproduce it, you're going to have more problems than just making these small changes. So
that's a great point, Tom. And we're right at 2:00. This has flown by. I want to offer to everybody. If you guys, Matthew, have a little bit more time, can we do a couple more?
I do have a little bit of time, and I kind of really thought this felt like a broad stroke of just like a couple of concepts and not really getting into the meat of stuff. So I'd love to do this again and have real conversation that focuses in on testimonials, how to get them from clients, how to make sure that how you can leverage them for your benefit the best. And as Tom said, a testimonial should talk about the transformation you're bringing to a business and it's what it's done for them, not just the fact that you implemented something. Anyone can sell Office 365. But if you're going to do it in a way that helps increase collaboration and allows companies to hit goals, that's what you talk about in your testimonials. Those are the kinds of things that we can talk about in the future, and I'd love to.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time for everyone who wanted us to take on their site. Obviously, this is popular. We can definitely set it up to do it again. But before we jump off, let's get 2 more. Let's do yes. Lewis, we will get yours, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Lewis's too. I'll have a link up. But Sandra, let's get yours up here. A lot of good stuff to say about this one, actually. Not actually, Sandra. I totally expected nothing less from you. But this is great. We've got what I like about this is you've got the this is super welcoming, Matt. You mentioned Rob's example, something that you could add that would immediately make a site welcoming. I mean, boom, you got it right there.
Yeah, that's a great photo. Everyone's kind of keeping it casual, and I think I like that.
Yeah, and so I mean, we see these same patterns, right? Like a value prop. It would be great to have some kind of CTA right here before you lose people. But we go down, like this is, like I mentioned, like you have a team of experts. I see them. They seem friendly and approachable. That's huge. Testimonials are great. It's hard to get photos from people. If you could, that's awesome. Or even just like, it's good that you've taken the approach of summing it up, basically picking out like, what are the highlights here? That's a good way to solve that block of text problem. Anything else from, and again, I mean, this, you don't have to have a ton on here. This is basically like, actually, okay, look at this, Sandra, geez, 98.7.
Wow. See, that should be at the top of the page. That's an afterthought if it's further that far down. And that's way too important to be down there.
Totally. Especially when you have a perfect spot to dump it in right there.
Yeah, not even that. Go all the way up to the top. I could care less about the desk. I want to see it right there on the desk, right on the surface. And also the other thing that can be done here is the grid for this hero section is a little off. I feel like it's split like maybe 1/3 for the left column and 2/3 for the right. And that's just a waste of space. Make it like 50-50 so you have a little bit more. You push your content up. You get your nice CSAT score on the right-hand side, a CT underneath your copy, and that's a pretty winning heading for a page. It's also a nice wood grain. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so we got, oh man, there's so many guys. I'm so sorry we can't get all this, but let's do like a rapid fire thing. We're gonna do, let's see, we've got Clara Jackson here, unique, innovative. All right, so are you security focused? Because that's my very first thing looking at this. Is that a hacker in a black hoodie I'm looking at, basically?
That's Hacker Man.
Yep. Oh no.
What happened?
Yeah, there we go. Oh, I lost it. Oh no. All right.
Right click, reopen, close tab.
Okay. There we go. You get to see that I have the Google Death Clock Chrome add-on, which tells you a lot about me. So anyway, okay, so chatbots. I mean, that's a whole other thing we could talk about. Chatbots?
About another time, because I'm in the middle of building out contextual chatbots for Valiant, and we can talk about that later after I figure out what I'm doing wrong and what I'm doing right. That'd be a really cool conversation. But let's talk about this site for just 2 seconds, because the grid's broken. Either the grid's broken or there is no responsive design being employed here. Go all the way up to the top. The menu's being cut off. Now make your window smaller, please. Smaller, smaller, smaller. Yeah, there's no responsive design in here. So people that are looking at this on a mobile phone are really going to miss out on any experience or being able to look at this properly, I think. That's not a terribly difficult thing to fix, but that's important. The other thing I noticed about here is look at the order of the items in the menu. Why do I see services and MSP solutions as separate items? That's confusing to me. And I think that if the company could better define maybe its mission in that first kind of screen, that would help.
Yeah, I'm curious. Let's look at the MSP solutions. This too, I mean.
No, I'm not going to call.
Yeah, I mean, is it for each individual thing, like a different number? That's kind of my question there. I'm sure that it's not, but that's kind of the impression. Also, the stock here, I mean, yeah, it's hard. Getting photos of technology is difficult. It's hard. Like, how do you visualize some of this stuff? It's not easy unless you have a designer.
You don't have to visualize technology. You have to visualize people either happy in their workplace or doing something efficiently.
Yeah, and this is not like...
Let's all clap the guy that's leaving the office. That's what it looks like. Someone just retired, and they're just like, get out so we can redo your office.
Oh my God. Okay, yeah, good point. And I'm going to include, there's some other stock sources that I'll include for everybody in that doc right after this.
Yes, I'll add some of those too. I've got plenty.
Awesome. That would be great. Yeah, because there's some good stock out there that's... you're still going to run the chance of another MSP using your image every now and then, but there's stuff that's a little bit more, unique or kind of like updated from.
Yeah, I would
from what we
just,
see.
to everyone watching this in the entire world, just avoid things with blue hexagons because they're everywhere on MSP websites and they're getting annoying. Yeah, honestly, if depending on what people want to do with this, I'd love to do a future live chat series that really gets into figuring out what your brand is. I think that's like a step, because again, this was just kind of like a broad stroke. Like I'm sitting here watching the chat, and there are people I like want to have conversations with about these things, especially the guys at Your Sales Energy. I'm watching them and enjoying the back and forth. And what they're saying is absolutely true. And we're covering so much in so little time that we should kind of figure out a way to attack this in smaller, easily digestible bites.
Yes, I totally agree. And if in the comments, and then also we're going to follow up on email. We're going to be diving into the Slack group. Everybody use these channels. Like we want to hear what you guys want to learn more about, because Matt, I think you're absolutely right. This is a big thing. We took a big bite here. We whipped through websites super quickly. There's so many different rabbit holes we can dive down, and we're happy to do it because you're right. Like this is more about this. Start off as about branding. We didn't really talk about like how to go through defining some of your branding. All these different elements of websites. I mean, we dive into each one of these things.
Yeah, look, we'll make time to do this again. And you know what else we could do that could be fun is just kind of literally tearing Valiant's brand apart itself, the logo. Just start with the logo and just show that progression without anything else around it, and do the same thing for Valiant Cloud and kind of show how, there's thought that goes into what those logos and logo marks and everything else represent. I think that's fun because to me, that's the anchor point that a lot of other work I like to do starts with. So maybe we do something like that. But yeah, this is fun. I love it. And I don't know, being a part of an MSP is cool. I used to be the MSP killer and remove MSPs, and now I'm part of you guys.
Really quickly before, because he's asked for it so much when we have it on the screen, we've got Kelvin Teglar's website, Lime Networks, with his Lime. I think he mentioned something. He's very proud of this.
It's a beautiful site.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Great image on top too. That does something for me.
And this goes into, there's a whole other thing with branding where, Matt, you've got awesome pictures you were sharing with me of Valiant's office and all the work that went into that. So like you can see too that Kelvin and his team have actually thought about branding, and it's more than just their website. It goes into everything they're doing. So sometimes Google helps me out here. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Oh, refreshing IT services. I love it.
Yeah. I don't see anything. I'm expecting a big picture of Kelvin saying that he's an MVP, a Microsoft MVP somewhere.
I feel like if you sign up for MSP services through these folks, they should send you a little thank you with like a little bottle of vodka and some limes and stuff. This is awesome. Traditional versus management. I like that.
Yeah. So look. Okay. This is what we think is important. This is great.
This is how we function.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Being very straightforward. This is great.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some little bit being lost in translation here and there because of the way Google works. But just looking at this, it's like I know what you do. It's very clear that you care about process and appearance, and that says a lot to me. Seeing the partner logos, are those looked weird to me, those Microsoft partner logos. Is that from
He's faking it. Okay,
I was gonna say those don't look like the ones that are generated by the Partner Center logo thing. But no, this is fantastic. The top has the that must be a support email. You got your support email, info email. You've got your sales phone number, and then lime.help must be like what they use for remote control or something, I would assume. That's interesting. But yeah, it says refreshing in the menu. This is refreshing looking. I like this. This is going to be one that I'm going to poke around with a little bit and see what's going on.
Yeah, and a good job.
Flipping.
The flipping's a little cutesy for me, Kelvin. But a great use of not too much text. You're calling out things with icons. It's scannable.
Great use of, look at the pale greens he's got under managed. It all pulls to the palette really nicely. The pulsating line was a little creepy for a second there.
What could Kelvin improve on here?
Oh my God, the dashboard. Show me metrics. I love it.
Yeah. Okay. So the metrics, yes.
I don't even care what they are. I'm seeing gauges and numbers, and that's going to be interesting.
Cool.
I gotta say, I'm gonna go back to this really quickly too. This is accent again. Having metrics, like a lot of people are doing this. They'll say like number of clients. I care much more about results. And so average time to wait to talk to a tech, your the CSAT scores, like we've mentioned before. Yeah, having more metrics involved. If you've got the metrics, show them off.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, as long as you can keep them current, then it's not that
right
big of a deal. I like it. The problem is if you're doing it manually and you're not keeping up to date on that, then it could become a little deceptive unintentionally, and I don't like that.
Yeah, there are services too. I mean, we talked about there's
the CSAT.
Yes, the CSAT. Yeah, there's Simple Sat. There's Smileback, I think, is another option.
And I know I'm starting to sound whiny at the moment because I'm thinking about things I want to do that I don't have time for, but it would be so sweet just to build like a WordPress plugin that would hit like, say, the auto task or ConnectWise API and be able to get enough information to build widgets that just update in somewhat real time. And
there you go, Matt. It's a project for you.
Yeah, there's so many of those lined up right now. I got to finish Control, Reboot, Delete first. But yeah, maybe that'll become something in the future. I'd love to. Yeah, I'm going to do that.
So this is, before we dive off, everyone, I did what Lewis mentioned. He reached out to me on Discord too and said, hey, can you check out this site? Full disclosure, he designs sites, and this is a demo site that he's created. But I am going to include this in the link. I'm also going to include links to Your Sales Energy. They're great. They care a lot about branding. They think a lot about it. They help out a lot of MSPs. So I will include some links to people who are there to help. If redoing your website or walking through some of this is something you're interested in.
I like the colors on here.
I mean, I think what we're seeing here is, a clean website. This kind of goes to the point of like, we say basic, and basic often has a negative connotation. But really what I'm referring to on a website is less is more, almost always.
Well, the less is more means that you have the greater ability to focus on what's important. It's again, shrimp and pot roast. Just no.
But yeah, I mean, having I love that this is, there's special offers here if you're into that sort of thing. But there's promises of results. And then there's okay, also we can make this super easy. I love when people describe their process. Mm-hmm. I've seen some MSPs even have outlines where they say, here's what it looks through all the way from you becoming a lead, us talking for the first time, to becoming a client and doing onboarding. Yeah, and we're showing you exactly what it looks like and reassuring you that it's easy.
Go to Valiant's philosophy page. We've got that whole thing charted out. Well, not anyone can go to it, but yeah, I mean that's a big deal. You want to be able to illustrate the processes you have so people understand that they're not going to be painful if done right.
Where is the philosophies page?
/philosophy.
Okay. I bet I already. Oh boy. With my spelling, did I get it? I did. Okay, cool. Yeah, I did. I've called this out with you guys. Yeah, the technology assessment, walking through exactly what it's going to look like. It'd be cool to have maybe an indication of time here too. I'm sure that varies a lot, but reassuring people that, hey, this could happen quickly if it needs to. Yeah,
actually, that's an awesome suggestion. And we use a PowerPoint that illustrates that does have time ranges based into it. So, I mean, it's an iterative improvement to make to the site in the next push. So thank you.
Okay, guys. Yeah, it's we've run over. Matt, I know you're a busy man, so we can't hold you too long. Thank you so much for coming in, though.
I had a great time. Thank you, guys. It's been fun to watch this for the past few weeks and now be a part of it. And again, I'll be in Slack, so if anyone does have questions, they can continue there easily.
Awesome. And yeah, feel free, go check out this doc throughout the day. I'm going to busily add to this. I've got a ton of obviously we have tons of resources we can add. I've got more websites that you can check out. Nucleus is a great one to look at if you're looking at something to do something different. They take a very different approach, which is cool and worth checking out. But yeah, check out the doc. Join the Slack group. Bug Matt in there. Bug me. And in terms of what's coming up, we're right here at the silly season, right? The end of the year. But I was talking with Tom, and Tom, you had a great idea of let's bring back some old favorites. Let's see if we can get Ray on here. Let's get Alex. Let's get Kelvin, Sandra. Let's get some people we've had on in the past, and let's do kind of a roundup edition. Let's have a look back. And I think that'll be 2 weeks from today.
Great, Jonathan. Just wanted to point out too, one thing we didn't cover here. It's okay if you don't know what to put on your website, and I would say seek out others that might be able to help you. That can help you capture what you do well, because it is difficult. And if your specialty is not marketing, which most MSPs out there, it is not. It's good to talk to someone else. And I will say, I see Your Sales Energy is on here, and they are friends of mine, and they are a good group to contact about marketing for MSPs.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, Tom. Well, thank you, Tom. Thank you, Matt. And thanks everybody for joining in and making this so active. I'm going to go back through the chat, and I'm going to notice, I haven't forgotten you, all the people that suggested their website. I'm going to keep note of this. When we do this again, we can absolutely take you up on it. Maybe we can also even, I'm happy to reach out to people and give you a run through just on my own too. So
yeah, honestly, this feels like it's the first steps into somewhat regular reviews for copy, reboot, delete. I'm going to keep saying control alt delete forever on that. But yeah, copy, reboot, delete. I think that would be a really great thing if we're going to do that on a regular basis. We review at least one site per episode of that and really kind of start getting into these things.
I love it. I love it. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. If you want a recording of all this goodness, we're actually going to stop the broadcast. And if you refresh, it'll be up in just a minute or so. We're going to follow up with an email that has links to that doc and to the recording. So you'll get that either tomorrow or possibly on Monday. And thanks again, everybody. This has been great. A lot of fun.
One more interruption.
Yes.
I just realized it because I don't wear this hat that often, but I literally branded myself.
You can't help yourself.
I can't. I'm a brand. I am what I am. And that said, thank you very much for having me on. And I really do look forward to doing this again.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, guys. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody home. Take care. See you next time.